got to be like he just played tonight like it was a pickup game. I mean, he was throwing the ball one-handed passes all over the court, and they've got him down for 3 turnovers. But I would be willing to bet you if we went through the film, it's closer to 6 or 7. Like he just he put himself in some difficult positions tonight. The whole team, in my opinion, looked kind of nonchalant, like it was a game they knew they would end up winning, and they're not good enough to play that way yet.
Before I forget, we want to welcome everybody into After the Game with Todd Leary here. We're coming to you live from Buffalo's tonight.
Bloomington staple.
A Bloomington staple, and golly, I mean, we love coming here. Normally we're at Yogi's, and we're only not there tonight because the Finney Hospitality Group is so wonderful to their employees. They shut all their stores down in order early to give all their employees a party. So they're having a party for them tonight, so that's why we're not there. But we're grateful that Ed Schwartzman and James allowed us to come into Buffalo's tonight, and cannot wait to get those wings over here, man. And that chicken sandwich. We always get the same thing when we come here. It's amazing.
I can blame many, many pounds on this place, that's for sure.
And a lot of other people. Speaking of the devil, look at that. I see that food getting close. But let me get to some questions here. Tom, says a number of questions for Todd. How do you only get 3 touches to Trace Jackson-Davis in the last 12 minutes, especially when he's the guy that was leading the parade in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stats and there's so many different things to take a look at in this, of things that should have happened different, and they, I guess we're gonna have to keep saying that they can learn from. I mean, that's what the pre-conference schedule is for, and that's what a lot of those easy games early in the year. That's what they were for. And you would hope that they would have learned from a lot of the closer games than what they should have been, but there was just way too many mistakes tonight, and not getting the ball to Trace Jackson-Davis. I mean, Indiana. When you look at this, Indiana scored 3 points in the last 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Now, factor into all of that, they had 2 free throws and a technical foul, missed both of them, missed front end of a 1-on-1 with Armand, I think he might have missed the front end of 1-on-1 twice, because I know he missed another one right after that. To only score 3 points in 7:49, and you had all of those free opportunities. That doesn't include any shots. It's just amazing.
This is a team that is showing that they kind of just right on the edge, and they just don't have much margin for error.
They don't have margin for that.
And when they do those things that you just mentioned, not hitting the free throws, you end up with a 6-7 point loss. And this, I think this is something that unfortunately fans may see a lot of from this team this year, because the competition is going to be there every night. And if you're riding on the edge, that's a rough place to live, man.
This is a situation that you've got to figure out real quickly how to address some of the issues in this game without turning it into a huge negative for your team. And I really don't know how to say that, other than you can't go browbeat them right now. Like, the Big Ten starts this week. Like, if this is December 5th game, you can beat the heck out of them in practice and go crazy. They'd be running till the cows come home. But you can't do that right now. I mean, they've got to be healthy and fresh and ready to go at the end of next week. So this has to be, I mean, this would be a 4.5 hour a day film sessions if it was back in the early 1990s. And it would be, and those sessions are way worse than try having somebody sit there and replay a play to you 17 times in a row and go, we're not leaving here tonight, and you tell me why you made that play.
Did Arkansas lose to Valpo, or did they beat Valpo? I know
they only had one loss, so it couldn't have been to Valpo.
Okay, so, and then they lost to Western Kentucky, I think, so they lost to. But this is not a strong Arkansas team.
Arkansas didn't come in here and take this game away. Arkansas did not come in here and play that well.
So this is strictly on Indiana's lack of play.
This is on Indiana. This is 100% on Indiana. This is lack of execution from Indiana's perspective. It's way too many mistakes. They have them down for 14 turnovers. I swear to you, it felt like 54 turnovers.
Mark asked the question, no inside game in the second half. How do you get away when something works so successfully in the first half? How do you get away from that, especially when you don't have an outside game going?
Here's something that I've had a problem with this team is they don't take pride in feeding the post, and they don't take pride in I'm going to say they don't quite get yet the fact of all the benefits that come from throwing the ball in the post. I really feel like right now when Trace Jackson Davis is being successful with the ball in the post, and even Joey Brunk as well, when those guys are successful when they're throwing the ball in the post, then all of a sudden Indiana players, when they throw it in, they just stand. And they're just basically throwing in saying, okay, do your thing now, as opposed to going and cutting away, setting a screen, getting another guy open at that point. It's almost like, as soon as we throw it in the post, that's the end of the offense, and everybody stops. And so then in the second half, when you know that they're not really taking pride in getting it in there, that's how it's easy to get away from. That's how in the second half, all of a sudden if you're open, no, I don't need to throw it inside, or I'm able to drive in the lane, or I'm able to do these things. Sometimes they're almost baiting you into doing some different things, definitely taking some shots. I would almost guarantee you they looked, and I'm not going to pick on Armand. What did he shot? 0 for 4 from the three-point line again tonight, okay? I'm almost going to bet you, I said this after the Notre Dame game. If you were scouting Indiana right now, you would look at Armand Franklin's percentages and not that one game. That one game, he made 4 of 5 three-pointers. Other than that, he's a 15% three-point shooter. And so
I think he was 15 and 17 before that
correct.
Outbreak.
And they said, I'm sure they were going into it saying, okay, if he makes his first 2, we'll extend out and we'll go out and guard him. And that's what I mean by almost baiting some of the Indiana players. It's almost like they're saying, hey, like you got the LeBron factor. We're going to let Trace Jackson Davis have it X number of times. We're going to let him have X number of points. He had 14 points in the first half. He only ended up with 20. So he only has 6 in the second half. Now, some of that's on him for missing free throws. He missed 5 free throws in the game. Indiana missed 9 total. He missed 5 of them. But overall, Indiana's got to be more disciplined than that and not allow the other team to bait you into taking the shots they want you to take. It is a fact. And Armand played so good in that Notre Dame game that it's going to sound like I just jump off the bandwagon that quickly, and I don't. His jump shot looks good. Technically, he has a good-looking jump shot. He's had one game this year he's been successful shooting it, and that's it. And so, from the basketball that we know that we grew up in, you wouldn't be allowed to shoot it anymore. It's just that simple. Until you can prove that you can make it, you're just not allowed to shoot it anymore. And you definitely can't go 0 for 4.
Nope. You're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary. Appreciate everybody joining us. Brought to you by Best Beer of Bloomington. Have an ice cold Bud Light or a Budweiser, whatever your preference is. But Best Beer of Bloomington, they provide it pretty much wherever you are. And, of course, we're coming to you live from Buffalo's tonight. Normally we're at Yogi's, of course, but the Finney Hospitality Group having a mass Christmas party for all their employees. Grateful to them. But we're grateful to Ed Schwartzman and James for letting us come to Buffalo's, one of our favorite wings places, or actually our favorite wings place.
Yeah,
the only wings place. Is there another wings place? No, there is not. Indiana, of course, losing tonight at home, 71-64, 11-2 on the year now. Not what they wanted going into the Big Ten. Getting back into the Big Ten season. They've got another week off, this unique, weird schedule.
Awful schedule.
3 weeks where it's just off game.
So let me take, I'm going to take just a little segment here, and I'm going to allow myself to be Johnny Negative here for just a minute. Because
Not me. It's him.
I'll tell you, it's me. Because here's what I don't like, okay? Indiana is playing like a team that's coming off of a national championship that is 15-0 and ranked 3rd in the country, and they walked around the beginning of that game like
they got the swagger without the swag.
There isn't a chance in the world we could lose this game. And when you back that up, I love it. It's kind of cocky, and
swagger without the swag.
It is. But when you can't back it up, and when you don't back it up, especially on your home court, I'll tell you something I take serious pride in. And I think it was after my sophomore, I think my last 3 years of playing at IU, we never lost a home game. And you talk about pressure when you get down. We played against some really, really good teams that came into Assembly Hall. And you talk about some pressure. My senior year, when we lose Calvert and Matt Nover and Greg Graham and Chris Reynolds, and you lose those guys, and you still have to come out and hold that down, because I didn't want to be the team. It was a big deal that we held it up. And Coach Knight brings that up, trust me. It's talked about. And you just can't lose on your home floor, especially to a non-conference team.
Well, I've heard the stories.
And this is – there was no sense of, this is my house. You are not coming into our house and going to have any swagger or get your confidence going. We're going to jam it down your throat, not like Al Durham tried to do. We're going to really jam it down your throat, and you're not ever going to feel like you had a chance to come in here and win.
I don't. It reminds me a little bit of last year's Arkansas game where they went to Arkansas, but Arkansas was like, "You're not coming into our house," and they played pretty effectively last year. Won that game.
So my real knock right now is, so I'll go back and I'll use the old school terms of Coach Knight and all that, is we have way too many cool guys on this team. Like Coach Knight hated cool guys. The guy that looked really good, they all thought he looked really good, and his shorts looked good. That's why he made us dress like buffoons out there and look like idiots. But he, like, I just can't stand the cool guy. We got way too many cool guys on this team that are. I mean, they look great in warm-ups. They're real athletic. They look awesome. And, Dick Vitale would call it his all-airport team. I mean, they look great getting off the plane and stuff like that.
Man,
like this is, like, we look really impressed. We think we're real good. And then you go out and play like that, you shouldn't think that anymore. You can't have that anymore. Like, you're not allowed to act cool until you win, like, 7 in a row. And that's my knock on this team right now. There's way too many one-handed full court passes. There's way too many cool guy passes, cool guy plays going on. Like, if we take care of the basketball alone in this game, and to make free throws, they win by 20. Not win the game. They win by 20. Based on the timing of when those plays would have taken place. And I'm done with the cool guy act. I've had enough of the cool guy act.
Richie wants to know if you can help these guys coach them on three-point shooters.
I can assure you I cannot negatively impact them.
Ed says pathetic. I've had a lot of people talk about Green's up and down play.
Hold on though. He's a scorer. He's a scorer. Like, he's going to be up and down. We have to live with that. We're Indiana fans. We need him. What we can't do is revolve everything around him. And I was going to say it. I was really thinking it earlier before I even kind of realized that Al got ejected from the game. But
how about that? That's bad on his part.
It is.
Because this was a flagrant elbow.
I didn't see it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I missed it too.
Right
I was just told about it.
But this is a situation where Al would have been huge to step up and be that next guy. Rob Finney really struggled tonight. He looked uncomfortable. He didn't look comfortable on the floor. He made a big three-pointer. Let's see. He's 1 for 3. That's the only shot he made. He's 2 for 4 from the free throw line. And those 2 free throws on the technical, did you see him? They were almost air balls. I mean, this guy's an 85% free throw shooter, and he shoots that barely grazed the rim. I've never shot a shot like that in my entire life. Like, I don't understand how that's possible. And so something is in these guys' minds right now. Something's going on because there's just some there's just some things happening that don't happen in basketball.
Farrell joining us. It's the first time I've seen Farrell on here. Thanks a lot for joining us. But I said it was a horrible loss. What happened to our down low game? They had 4 fouls on them.
On Jones, I know.
And he says they're out there without messing around out in the front court. When does basketball IQ come in and all of that?
So here's where the game is different than a lot of us like and are used to, is that the whole weave thing out top and the whole ball screening all the time and that stuff. These players have grown up in AAU and high school, and that's how they've been taught, and that's really the only way they know how to play. And I hate to make it as blunt as that and say it, but if you try to get these guys to not be out there with the ball dribbling around, running those weaves, I'll tell you, I think they would look so uncomfortable. I don't know what they would do. I don't think they would know how to act, and they're just used to that. And so what that does, you only got a 30-second shot clock. You do that, it takes you, let's say, minimum 5 seconds to get across the line. You're at 25. You weave out there for 8 to 12 seconds. All of a sudden, now you're down to close to 10 on the shot clock already, and you got to go create a shot, and you got to make something happen. And that's the part of it where I'm just like, hey, the ball needs to be on one side of the floor. We need to set it up. It needs to be reversed to the other side of the floor and thrown inside. It's that simple. It takes 2 passes.
Joey Brook, I think they got all they could get out of him tonight in a game like this. He had 8 points, 4 of 8, 11 rebounds. So he was working his tail off on that
rebounding. Okay, but I paid attention to most of these. 7 of those rebounds, you and I would have gotten. they weren't contested rebounds. Okay, there was no one else around.
I'm like the worm, man. What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, anyone would have got those rebounds. They basically came off the rim and came right into his lap, and no one was around. Any other IU player could have got it. There was no one crashing the boards. They were firing up three-pointers. I mean, they chucked up 31 three-pointers in this game, and so they missed 19 of them. So there's a lot of balls coming off there. Now, somebody got to get the rebounds, and that's fine. He looked completely out of place on the offensive end. He made some moves that you just can't make. I mean, Joey Brunk was 4 for 8 from the field. It doesn't look like a bad line. He only had 1 turnover and all of that. He didn't play that well. His line, he didn't play as well as what his line shows. And I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying, like, this was a game that if either Indiana's going to impose its will and use Joey Brunk and have him overpower people, or they got to get him off the floor and get somebody else on there. Except for, I will tell you, I don't know who I had to put in for it. Because Demizi looked like he had never been on a basketball before. I mean, he looks like he couldn't play in an NAIA.
They looked like they were caught between 2 different styles of offenses, and they didn't know what they were trying to do. If they were trying to run an inside-out game or an outside-in game, or they're trying to be outside when they should be inside. It just looked like they were just not prepared, to be honest with you.
Prepared's not. It looked to me like they stayed up late last night and watched the Ohio State football game and got up late this morning and were just tired, and it's Sunday afternoon. They looked to me like they were impositioned by having to play a game tonight. And that pisses me off because I drove 3 hours to get here. To be excited about them going 12-1 and getting ready for Big Ten play.
I think it was Jennifer just said the same thing, a long drive home.
Yeah, and you know, look at this. That arena tonight is the most full it's been the entire year. You know, here's something. Here's why fans, and I can tell you I didn't at the time, but here's why fans love Coach Knight. Because you want to know why I bring up the 3-hour drive home? Because as a player, if we would have had that performance out there, Coach Knight would have been bringing it up. He would have been bringing it up. I can guarantee it. He would have been embarrassed because that arena tonight was darn near full.
Great crowd.
It was darn near
crowd.
full.
It didn't mention that. Great
no
crowd.
Students in town.
Yes,
no
great
student
crowd.
section.
Those were all people that don't get to go to a lot of games.
That's exactly right. The balconies were almost full. You had more than 15,000 people here, maybe more than 16,000 people here, and they just watched you walk out there and play like you don't care. Like, that's the step. So you want me to start getting fired up about I'm trying to be positive, and I'm trying to be okay with the new age player that plays in his cool guy style and all that, and the ball screens and the weave and all this crap. But I'm growing. When they win, it's easier for me to be nice about it. When they start playing like this and you giving up the lead, you can't compare the Notre Dame game and this. They're not really the same or whatever. Indiana completely gave this one back. This was not Notre Dame. Notre Dame made some big plays and came back and is a fairly solid team. This is not a solid team. This is a terrible Arkansas team. They're bad.
A lot of fans, or some fans, if they're just a diehard fan, they're going to say, okay, this was a non-conference game. We knew it was coming because of the personnel matchup. It's okay. They'll be fine. Before, I went a little harsher. I'm not going to do that tonight, but I think that these kinds of games expose them for what can come down the line, because a good enough coach that has a team that has good enough personnel can say, hey, we know they're susceptible to this. Let's do that to the Indiana.
Yes, I mean, the only positive side of it that I will say is you and I said all week long, it's a tough matchup for Indiana, just simply because of
is that a good enough excuse?
No, it is definitely not. Indiana took a 10-point lead multiple times in this game, and if that's the point, like I almost want it to get to the point where now when they get a 10-point lead, that's when I want Archie to call a timeout. And I want to get everybody over there in the huddle, and I want to look them all straight in the eye, and I want to go, hey, now is the time you buckle down and end this game. You get it to 18 or 20 points, it's over. They're not coming back. But it was 11, and then all of a sudden they hit a big three, and it went to 8. Indiana hit a 3, went right back to 11, and then it went another 2-pointer, 5, and then they scored another 3-pointer, made it 5 points coming back, and then they got 2 free throws, and they just whittled it away. And Indiana scores 3 points in the last 7 minutes and 49 seconds. How could you possibly expect to win? I mean, they missed a minimum of 5 free throws in that last, a minimum of 4 free throws in that last 7:49.
as they move forward now, they go on to Big Ten play. Not going to face this kind of game again
until they play Nebraska again.
Yeah. But does this game give you concerns going forward about what they can and can't do as they move forward?
It gives me concerns about the way Indiana played. You know, I mean, I'm not the matchup. Look, Arkansas is not any good. They're not. My concerns
but isn't
are...
that two teams they've lost to that's not very good?
It is. Without a doubt it is. Although Wisconsin went down to Tennessee and made them look pretty good.
That was a shocker,
It is. But I mean, that's... You're staring right now at... Here's the problem. Okay, holidays are over. Family time, holidays, all that stuff is over. Archie Miller and his staff, no kidding, may not leave the gym tonight. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating that, like trying to make up a story.
Got a lot of Indiana fans coming in here to Buffalo.
Yeah, they were going to try to close this place down, and I was wondering what they were thinking, because you knew a lot of people would be coming in here after the game, but
as they are coming in right now to Buffalo.
But I mean, you are looking at the coaching staff, the amount of issues that they have to go over tonight is astronomical. I mean, they need a full week to sit there and go through all of the issues that took place in this game. And I don't even know where you begin. I mean, Indiana wins the game alone if they just make their free throws. I mean, that's the bottom line.
And weirdly, that's something we've heard for a couple years, and I'm not blaming this on Archie Miller because I don't know how a coach could call something like that, but they have not been a very good free throw shooting team in these last few years, and I don't get that because we talked about free throw shooting. That just comes down to mental repetition and mental strength and all that stuff. So, and when you see a guy who's having such a night as Trace Jackson-Davis was, he really tempered that with a really bad night at the free throw line, especially when that plays in to a 7-point loss at home.
Yeah, and you know, with Trace's most of his misses in the first half, that's the opportunity to build that lead up and get that lead to where it's, 10, 15-point lead at halftime. The second half ones, here's where look at these two guys. So Isaiah Joe, the number one, the guy, he shoots 6 of 17 from the 3-point line today. He's 7 for 20 overall. So he only takes 3 shots that are not 3-pointers, okay? I mean, this dude's chucking it up from everywhere. He's got the green light, literally. The second they landed in Bloomington, he had the green light. And so here's the difference. He's an 80% free throw shooter. Rob Fennessy's an 85% free throw shooter. Rob Fennessy darn near airballs 2 technical free throws. And at the end of the game, Isaiah Joe steps up and makes 4 in a row.
On the road.
On his home court.
And they're doing all this on the road.
Point. Rob Fennessy shot free throws at those baskets for 2 years now. A lot of them. I don't understand how their 80% free throw shooter is comfortable as can be, and mine looks like he's scared to death. And I would have put Rob Fennessy at the line too. To shoot those technical fouls, I would have put Rob Fennessy up there. But then after that, you back it up with Armand Franklin, and he goes up there and he steps up and he darn near airballs one. I don't understand. The free throw thing, I'll never understand. I can make him left-handed better than every guy on this team.
Jerry Lawler says, a very disappointing loss at home tonight. Trying to be positive as a fan, but frustrated to watch a team that cannot shoot well from the line or from outside. Where are the Todd Learys and the Steve Alfords around this state? They're out there. They're out there. Maybe they're coming. Maybe they're on their way. I don't know. There were some guys in the house tonight. I think Anthony Leal was there. Christian Lander was there. John Mellencamp was there. And they ain't even done with the night. But Mellencamp is in the house.
I'd have taken. I bet he could have shot 9 of 18.
He shows up for the first time in 2 years and they lose a horrible loss.
Yeah. Well, we're not blaming him for this. He didn't miss any of those free throws either.
Dylan joined us. Hey, Dylan. Tim says thought Todd was a cool guy.
You thought wrong, Tim.
We do need Todd at Red Blue Hoops tonight. What is that? I'm not sure. Mike L., I remember a game years ago, Bobby Knight benched all the starters, played all bench guys. Well, I think he did that more than once. He did that several times. The bench was a great motivator under Coach Knight. No doubt about that.
Well, okay, so right now, I mean, so Jerome Hunter didn't play in this game. That's a non-factor. That doesn't factor into it. He wouldn't have, he's not a scorer. He's not a guy that would have made a difference in this game. But I'm, so I stay until I switch back out of this mode into my positive mode. I'm going to look at DeBeese Anderson. DeBeese played 21 minutes tonight. and basically has zeros all the way across the board on there. I mean, this guy's supposed to be a shooter and a scorer. He's 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 2 from the three-point line. He doesn't get to the free throw line. I mean, how could you have a line, how could you play for 21 minutes and not factor in the game? How is that possible?
It's a great question. I was looking at Justin Smith's line as well. He played quite a bit. I think he had 4 first-half points. Did he only have 2 points in the entire second half?
Yeah, he had 6 points overall. Only shot the ball 4 times.
And that's someone that you really need to, I talked about this before. Justin is a guy I thought that should just be killing people in this game because of his unbelievable athletic ability. And you didn't really see that come off. And I talked about the Arkansas game last year where they seemed like they intimidated him a little bit. But they had the big guys then, and they don't have that this year, so that's not what was going on. I'm just not sure if there just wasn't a very cohesive action in this offense tonight. They just didn't seem – I know that they wanted to go inside, which they did successfully for a while.
They did.
Then they got away from it. Why, I do not know.
Here's the issue. I mean, they turned it over 14 times in this game. If Indiana turned it over 14 times by trying to feed it in the post, I'd take it. I literally would take it. I think I would take it every single Big Ten game. If you told me they're going to have 14 turnovers and all of them are going to be trying to feed the post, I'd take it. But they're not. I mean, they're having bad, terrible turnovers, and then when they're not turning it over, they're definitely not trying to throw it in the post. So we're losing. We got double negative going on.
We talked about Al Durham getting kicked. He got ejected like 5 minutes into the game, and I didn't see the play. He didn't. How much did he play? 5, 6, 7 minutes.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play much at all. Apparently, he throws a flagrant elbow. I didn't see it myself, but you can't do that. He's a captain of this team, and tonight is a night that the way they played, he could have been the guy that was. He could have been Armand Franklin in the Notre Dame game. This could have been.
I'll tell you
Al
what
Durham.
he would have been. He would have been the guy shooting the free throws on technical. I mean, he had a very capable. He was very capable of, having the ball in his hands and the funny part is I didn't even really realize that he wasn't available. That he wasn't playing. I didn't realize it until a little bit later on. It was, they announced it, but I didn't even really hear it when they announced it.
Pete says, great show. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate you. Got a lot of guys joining us. Tom says, bottom line, they just can't shoot. Well, that's a battle they've been fighting.
That's true. I'm not going to argue with that.
Let us show the Buffalo's food off, Jessica. But, that's something that they fight, and they're going to fight.
Here,
we know that.
Bring in the real moneymaker right there.
Buffalo's right there. That's where you want to. You need some wings,
If you've been to Buffalo's, you know what we're talking about right there.
Man, I don't even smell that right now. There's the chicken sandwich. What's that sauce? What is the sauce?
Medium cube.
It's crazy good.
It's legit.
We're coming to you from Buffalo's tonight because the hospitality group, great to their employees. They've shut all their stores down tonight to give them a Christmas party. And, of course, we're brought to you by Best Beer of Bloomington. So have an ice cold Bud Light or a Budweiser while you're sitting there trying to relax into this game. All right, now going forward, they've got to put this. They've got to put it behind them without not learning from it.
So let's try to make this a positive. So they've got that week off. The week off that we talked about. They don't play again until the 4th. Okay? So what that, unfortunately for the players, what that allows is they're not going to put this behind them. They're going to have probably a solid 2 days worth of watching this film and going over terrible practices off of this. I mean, they are for sure going. They're not putting this behind them like, okay, it's got to pretend like that. There's too many things to clean up. They can't just overlook this and go, all right, let's start getting ready for Maryland. I don't think what is that game next Saturday? I think it's next Saturday. So they probably don't start talking about them until Wednesday. They got solid Monday and Tuesday, and they're not back in school yet either, are they?
I don't.
Probably a whole nother week off.
I think so.
Assume.
Yeah, because you got New Year's Eve all day, middle of next week.
So tomorrow, let me tell you. Let me tell you, back in the old day, what tomorrow or the next day would have been like. It would have been some pure misery. And if you don't think players don't talk about that ahead of time, you're crazy. Because we for sure talked about the fact that there is no way we could lose this game. Being on a break, you can practice all you want. You can watch as much film as you want. They can call you in as much as you want. There's nowhere to be. no classes to study for. Your time is their time, and these would be some 5 and 6 hour days.
Mike says Dave Fife's rocking a crimson tie on the MSU bench. There's good for that. Jesse, hey, here you go. Little Jesse getting on you. What's being negative, Todd, if this is your way of trying to be positive? How you like it?
Hey, I'm fine with it. I'm trying. I'm admitting. I'm trying to be positive.
All right, here's I mentioned earlier that Anthony Leal was there, of course, but he's already committed to Indiana. Christian Lander from Evansville writes, not committed yet. Ed says, what do you do and what do recruits see when they play like this? Would you want to go to a school like that?
That's not people totally misunderstand.
Yeah, you can't put a microcosm.
Well, and when a player comes here and looks at this, I swear to you, every player thinks this. Every player thinks he's the solution. He thinks he's the solution. Yes. He thinks I
can fix that.
I can play immediately. He is not going to look at this game tonight.
So you're saying this is a positive?
It's not. There's my positive right there, because he's going to look at this and say, "Hey, wait a minute. If I reclassify up to next year, I'm on the floor right now. I'm playing next year." And that game is not going to scare him away. The crowd was awesome. He's from Indiana.
Crowd. I was shocked. Not only is it the students are gone, this is the holiday weekend. I mean, in the middle of all that.
6 o'clock game on Sunday night.
It's crazy.
And the place is packed, 16,000 people.
Hats off to the crowd again.
Unbelievable.
Great crowd. And they were in the game for them. They tried to be. James agrees with you that Rob looked uncomfortable on the court. Don't understand that at this stage.
I don't either.
He's a veteran.
Something is going on. Something upstairs is going on.
Well, and we've talked about these rotations and these lineups. They're kind of weird. It's just there doesn't. I don't know if this is the rotation. This is how it's going to be, or if they're still somehow working to get to some place that they're just not there yet.
Well, and Al Durham screwed that up tonight because he only played 5 minutes. I mean, Al would have played 25 to 30 minutes. So you look at it tonight. Trace Jackson Davis played 34. We want that. Devontae Green played 30. We want that. Finney played 23.
You'd like to see more. I would like to
see more. I agree. Joey Brunk, 27. Probably closer to 20 would be my preference on that. But right now, I don't really know. Like, I can't tell you. You can't put Duran in. I mean, they put Duran in for 2 minutes, and it was too many. He cannot be on the floor. I don't understand. I truly don't understand it. If I were Archie Miller, that walk-on kid, I can assure you would be playing those 2 minutes.
Ed and Trey agree that the coaching staff needs to look within themselves right now.
And don't think they're not. Do not think that Archie Miller is walking away from this going, that's on the players. They're blaming themselves. They're trying to figure out. It's the coach's job and responsibility to get these guys capable of playing, not just ready to play, not just prepared, but capable of playing. And a lot of that I watched after the 2 free throws tonight by Finney, and I watched. The only thing I looked at as soon as that happened, I looked at Archie Miller and I looked at Rob, and I was looking at them to see their demeanor and how they were. And Archie made, for 2 trips up and down the court right after that, he made it a point to call Rob over, yell Rob's name out, clap at him, tell him that it's okay. Rob has something going on, confidence-wise, that they feel like they need to address.
And it's not a job. He's not worried about losing his job.
Nope.
So, I mean, is it just simply a confidence thing? Because he hasn't really
I hate to say what it is because I'm not. Please don't think I have any inside knowledge. I'm saying I'm just watching it on the floor just like everyone else is watching.
Pete says that he looks out of sorts. The D's not great. Shooting's not great. Free throw's not great.
His defense
seems so different than prior to the injury.
His defense is good. His defense is almost always good. But I mean, we're just talking about. Honestly, I think on the defensive end of the floor, he looks comfortable as can be. You get down to the offensive end, and I think it looks like he doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. And we're talking about the guy who we want the ball in his hands, and he's the most comfortable guy on the floor.
Well, so now I guess again the most important question now before this next game: what do they have to do going into that game? Because it's Maryland, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be
on
easy.
The road.
On the road, a place they played well actually last year, but right now they're just not playing well. Period. So they've got a week-long practice, but then you got to go on the road and solve your ills.
They're going to get I'll be surprised. I'll be shocked if they don't get destroyed in practice for the next 2 days. Like Monday and Tuesday should be nasty. They should be ugly, and these guys should be beat up. Wednesday will be medium to pretty light. Thursday will be almost nothing, and Friday they won't do anything to shoot because they've got to be fresh and they got to be ready to get out there next Saturday. But right now, like they need to sit in the film room. They need to sit here like this, and somebody needs to be pointing at a film, showing them this is what you can't do. This cannot happen. That can't be repeated. If you want to be on the floor, these errors have got to be fixed. And those meetings last for hours and hours and hours. And
sounds so fun.
It's not. It is the absolute worst. Let me tell you this. When you get to the point where you, as a player, when you would rather be out on the court playing one-on-one full court for 3 hours than sitting there watching game film for 3 hours, it's pretty bad. And that tells you how crazy it gets. And that's what they need right now, though.
We'll hold this up again.
Yeah,
You're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary. We're coming to you from Buffalo, Louise. Thanks a lot to Ed and James. We're here from Buffalo, Louise tonight. Of course, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington. Indiana has. I'm staying positive. They've got to get past this somehow. They've got to get these.
Here's the thing. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm positive.
Right,
I still like our team.
Yeah.
This is a terrible loss. Like there's no
I guess my
this.
question is going to be, they're 11-2. But those 2 losses are ugly,
awful,
and they're bad, and they're going to hurt that resume at the end of the year. Now, we're not going to look forward.
No, this one's a
killer.
This one's a killer.
This
home loss, when you're talking about the NCAA tournament, this one's a killer.
Because now we've talked about this Big Ten schedule that's going to be brutal.
You got to do something. You got to do something freaky.
They got to make up for
this. To make up for that.
And because at the end of the year,
this has got to be a win at Ohio State, win at Michigan State to erase something like this. This is a bad one.
And not only that, it also takes whatever margin of error you may have had, it just shrunk.
Yeah.
You can't lose at Illinois. You can't lose at Minnesota. You've got to pick up a win against those kind of teams.
The only saving grace in all of this is that it's not a Big Ten game. If you flip flop this and you say they lose the Nebraska game and win this one, that's a worse scenario, because this is Arkansas. They're not a good team, but the fact that it's not a conference game it is really the only positive, I guess, you can take out of it, if there is such a thing.
Well, they've got to take something out of it. Kelly says at least the food is making you guys happy tonight. Well, it's not yet because it's sitting over there.
It smells good,
and not in my hands right now. Dean Elmore says no point guard.
There's no such thing anymore. I mean, there's no comfortable guard.
Yeah, they don't have someone who's comfortable running this offense.
But look, people who say that are used to the old offense of Bob Knight, where you've got one point guard out there and you've got motion offense and you got guys going. When you're running a weave, who cares who's the point guard?
But doesn't someone have to kind of be the quarterback on the floor?
How though? When you're running a weave,
by being a leader in some way. I mean, maybe it's not even a guard.
But that doesn't need to be a point guard.
That's what I'm saying. Doesn't necessarily.
That could be Trace Jackson.
They don't seem like they have that guy on the floor.
There's no one. I would love to have a mic to hear what they say when they huddle themselves up there, because there's no one. I mean, if you would have heard some of the funny things that we used to say in those huddles, it would be a riot. Like people would get a kick out of hearing some of that stuff. But it would basically be, hey, look, I don't care if you have to chop the guy's legs off. There is no way we can let a guy score right here. Like this, there's got to be somebody that steps up and just says, hey, look, we're drawing the line right here, and this can't happen again. And when a guy makes a bad foul, somebody's got to look him in the eye and go, you can't do that again. What are you doing?
Ron's joining us from down south. Where are you tonight, Ron? You weren't working the game, I noticed. Doug Wilson joins us from Australia, down under. Evening. Beer looks stronger, rightfully. So there you go. That's right. Don't forget, have yourself a Budweiser or a Bud Light from Best Beer of Bloomington, who bringing this broadcast to you, of course. We talked about this earlier, and some people that joined late still asking, why didn't you feed the post? I don't know. Why?
I don't know.
They went away. They obviously were very successful in the first half. Trace Jackson Davis, 14 first half points.
Do you remember how many shots he had at halftime? Do you know?
Yes,
I didn't get a halftime. I didn't get a stat.
Yes, I wrote it down.
He finished with 11 shots, and I'm going to say he had to have.
I think he only missed. I think he was 6 of 8 at one point in the first half. I think he may have
only
finished 6
have
of 8.
3 shots in the second half at most.
And I just don't understand. First of all, I don't understand how you go away from that. But then I don't understand, why is there not a timeout and screaming going on? Why are you not feeding the post?
Yeah, okay, so I'll play into the question that someone asked here about the point guard. So that's, to me, is where Rob Finney not being part of the starting lineup doesn't make sense to me. And him not being, if he knows he's on the floor for 32 minutes a game, then in that scenario, he knows everything that's going on and everything that needs to happen. In your mind, you got your own internal calendar and clock as to what's going on out there, and you know, okay, oh my gosh, Trace hasn't touched the ball in 3 consecutive trips up and down the floor. You keep track in your mind as you're dribbling down the court. You remember, okay, last time Devontae shot an early 3, the time before that Al drove to the basket, the time before that Justin was in the lane, and then you remember, okay, Trace hasn't touched the ball in a couple of plays. We got to make sure that he gets the ball. And that's one of the little things that guards have to learn to do and have to be able to do. Here's where the lineups become an issue, because when you're not starting Rob Finney, is Al Durham or is Armand Franklin doing that already as a freshman? Probably not. Is Al Durham doing that? Probably more than anyone else on the floor. Devontae's not doing it. Devontae doesn't need to do it. Devontae should be down the floor standing like this, ready to catch the ball and shoot it. I want Devontae shooting. Anytime he's open, I want him to shoot. He's a shooter. That's what shooters do. I want him to shoot. I don't need him to do anything else. I don't need any more one-handed bounce passes. I don't need any other showboat of the stuff going on. I need him to stand out there and make shots. And he's capable of doing that. But beyond that, between Al Durham, Rob Finney, and Armand Franklin, all 3 of those guys need to be the quarterback. All 3 of those guys need to know everything that's going on every single time down the floor.
Henry says this might be the worst 11-2 IU team. They've had there good talent, but they look lost on offense as a team. They don't gel together. I'm a loss for words. These rotations are really
they're messing with
buffaloing me, to say they're buffaloing me a little bit. I really, again,
I don't have a great explanation for it. I don't understand it. I've always been the guy. I've always been on the side of coaches who basically kind of coach all week long and prepare all week long, and then they basically kind of hand the team over to their leader, which generally is a guard. And that leader can be 3 different people. That leader can be Finney, Armand, and Al Durham. It can be all 3 of those. It doesn't need to be. I don't need, just because he's a senior, I don't need Devontae Green to be that mouth out there on the floor telling everybody what to do. It can be a sophomore. It can be. I want it to be Rob Finney. I want it to be Armand Franklin.
Tim asked, was Arkansas just too fast for? I don't think so. No. They faced a faster guard in
Nebraska.
Yeah,
but I mean, they create issues. Here's the problem. Indiana had a 10-point lead. They gave it away. This Arkansas team didn't do anything. They scored 71 points. They didn't score 96 points. They scored 71 points. I mean, this is not. What did Indiana have at halftime? 38. They scored 26 points in the second half. Shooting the way they shot. They didn't score 3 points in the last. They scored 3 points in the last 7:49, and 2 of those were Armand Franklin with 20 seconds to go shooting a layup when he should have shot a 3. Of all the times he should have shot a 3, he drives it in and shoots a layup. I mean, there's just so many different things where you want to. So right now, here'd be an idea. Tomorrow or tonight, you'd be sitting down with a coach, and the coach would go, okay, I want to know what's going on in your mind. You're down by 7, and there's 23 seconds to go, and you dribbled the ball down the court. What in your mind made you think it was the right thing to do to go in there and shoot a 2-pointer? Because I'd like to know where his thought process is and what he's thinking, because it's wrong. And he's chucked up 4 3-pointers already. If you're ever going to chuck one up, now's the time to do it. And
if you're Archie Miller, you're going into this Michigan game, what are you doing? What are you asking of this team? What are you forcing from this team? I mean, it's getting time to where you may have to start using that bench a little bit.
Yeah, I would. I can assure you I would. I can assure you right now, what's his name? What's the moving to the south, or Ellisville guy's name?
Oh, Cooper Bybee?
Cooper Bybee.
They snuck him in a few games.
I can assure you, if I'm Archie Miller, that little dude would probably, I don't know if I'd start him, but it'd be pretty darn close. Because I'd be getting somebody's attention right now. You cannot get worse than losing at home to Arkansas. I mean, what are you worried about, the bad result? I would be teaching some lessons right now. That's a fact. I don't care if there's a new age player, guys handle things different and all that. Hey, you know what? You play the cool guy, roll with me, they would learn the old school way of coaching.
Man, we got texts coming in from all over the place. You guys are really lighting it up tonight. Larry here in Bloomington says Devontae Green just shafted out of the game.
I mean, he's 5 for 16, 4 for 12 from 3. I mean, what was wrong with his line? The problem with him was his turnovers. He had 3 turnovers. He had at least 6. But I mean, he didn't shoot the ball that bad. I mean, he's 4 for 12 from the 3-point line. Heck, on this team, that's lights out.
Yeah, they've got to improve a lot of things before they go to get to Maryland. But the free throw shooting, this is going to be an ongoing problem. We've seen Trace Jackson Davis. We've seen him hit 14 of 15, but we've seen him have more games like this.
Yeah.
And this team has really been a 50% team sometimes, and I'm like, wow. Sometimes you see that happen, like I saw the Indiana women team do that against UCLA. That's an anomaly for them.
Right.
They're an 80% team.
What they do right after that, they come back and play Michigan State, bounce right back.
Exactly.
And
that was an anomaly. It's not an anomaly for this team. No. It's been an ongoing issue.
It's becoming regular.
And it's carried over. We thought that they got rid of it this year because they were looking kind of good. And maybe overall right now their percentage is, I'm going to guess it's probably around 65%, which is substandard. But, man, they're getting into the meat of the schedule now where they're going to have a lot of games like this where it's a 6-point game, 5-point game. Games are going to be close. And when you're on the road, every little thing helps.
Sure.
Or hurts. So it's something that they have got to get solved.
Look, it's one of the fundamentals of basketball. I mean, dribbling and passing and sliding your feet and all those things are fundamentals of basketball. So are free throws. It never changes. It's always the same spot. It's always the same height. It's always the same distance. It never changes. And especially when you're shooting on your home court, when you're at your home gym, there's no excuse for it. Like, I don't care who you are. We don't have a Shaquille O'Neal on this team that physically cannot shoot free throws. I mean,
we've talked about this in various forms tonight. It's basically a rotational issue, but Mark asked, there was also a point in the game where Archie took out Trace Jackson Davis. The IU was up 9, looked like a bad move at the time, and Arkansas got the lead down to 2. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he played 34 out of 40 minutes. He's got to come out at some point. I mean, was that the right time here or there? I mean, as a coach, if the lead does that, it's always going to look that way. Of course, it looks terrible at that point. I mean, what if the lead was 4 and they take him out and the lead goes to 11? Should you leave him out? No. I mean, nobody ever says that. But it was bad timing of it or whatever it is. He played 34 out of 40 minutes. I mean,
how about Race Thompson? He seemed to he didn't do a lot, but he was efficient. He was in. How many minutes he ended up with?
12.
And
12 minutes, he had 4 points. He was 2 for 3 from the field. He did shoot a three-pointer.
Rebounds, got some rebounds.
3 rebounds.
At least he was effective when he was in there.
He's
effective when he's in there.
Guy plays 12 minutes and he doesn't have zeros all the way across the board. Demezy, 0, 0, 0, 0, except for his shots. He did 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 2.
I'm not looking to bash either, but I mean, you can compare his line to Justin Smith. And Justin Smith played a lot more minutes.
24, and he only played 24 minutes. But I mean, Justin Smith is always going to get bailed out. He's got 8 rebounds. It's always going to look like, okay, he did whatever. But and that's great. But here's what we're asking from Justin Smith. We're asking for more. We're not saying. I mean, he was 2 for 4, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 8 rebounds. Okay, we're not saying
he should be an 8-point-a-night guy. He's got to be an 8-point-a-night guy.
He's got to be an 8 to 12 point.
Yeah.
I mean, in the first couple games of the year, he had 24.
He's got to average 8 because that means
his motor was higher earlier in the year. He was playing faster. He was playing harder.
I know you can't answer this question because it's asking you to go to someone's mind, but as the evolution of Trace Jackson Davis and his status, he is obviously he's the star of this team.
Without doubt.
Devontae Green's supposed to be running it, but Trace Jackson Davis is the star on this team. And I'm sure a junior has got to look at that and say, well, that sucks.
No.
It's freshman. But
No,
You don't think
so much is built into all of this, and they're not similar type players. If Trace Jackson Davis came in and was a 2-guard and was a shooter, you can maybe say Devontae Green would have an issue with it. But Trace Jackson Davis is a totally different player than every other player on this team, and so no one is looking at that. Everyone welcomes everything Trace Jackson Davis can bring to this team. I don't see that as being any issue with Justin Smith.
You're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary right now. Of course, Todd Leary, former Indiana basketball player. We're coming to you tonight from Buffalo's. Cannot thank Ed
If it looks
enough,
different, it's because it is.
Cannot wait to dig into these. I'm telling you, man, they're sitting here
Don't put
waiting.
that one back in the middle. Put it back where I know which one that is.
You're not getting it. Also, thanks a lot to Best Beer of Bloomington. Of course, they bring each and every show here. Have yourself a nice ice cold Budweiser or a Bud Light whenever you can. Brought to you by Best Beer here in Bloomington. Todd Leary with us as well. Thanks a lot for everybody joining us tonight. We appreciate you. Jay says, we didn't look bad, just look bad tonight. We've looked bad for a while. Something's got to change. Bear says, there's no accountability with RT. If he needs your scoring, you can suck at everything else. I guess that's what he means. I have wondered about his ability or his desire to bench guys when they're not doing the things they want to do, and I'm not sure that I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I don't think he uses the bench as a motivator like some other coaches do and have in the past. And people have their own philosophy with that. I don't know what his is in regards to that. But I can tell you this: when you take Archie Miller's demeanor at Game 1 of this year and his demeanor right now, it's a lot different, and he is frustrated, and he is watching. I'm watching him chew the referees out there, and it's not the referees he's upset with.
I noticed that a lot more tonight.
Yep.
He was just
there was
a lot of animation tonight.
He was barking. Not from the get-go, but he was barking on a lot of issues that were on the tail end of Indiana making some mistakes. And that's if he would take some stuff out on the players the way he was talking to the referees. I shouldn't say if. He may do that and we don't see it in practice, but we definitely don't see it in games because, dare I say, in the old days, we'd see some headbutting and some throat grabbing going on. If this was the old days right now.
Robert Carter says 11-2. Robert, that doesn't look as strong tonight as it has in the past.
It doesn't look as good.
Alan says the bear behind you looks more like a blue moon. The beer behind you looks more like a blue moon. Just saying. Yeah, well, it's just the light. It's just the light. It's the bad light. Anyway, Nick says, Do y'all really blame the coach? How about captains? Al lost it. I don't think he lost the game.
So I hate to say.
But we talked about that earlier. He could have been, could have been an impact on this game in a positive way.
For sure. But hang on a second, Nick. No, I'm not blaming it. I'm not blaming the coaches. If what I've said sounds like I'm blaming the coaches, then.
No, I think he's asking, do you blame the coaches? Where does the blame lie? I think there's enough blame to go around. I think there's enough blame for coaches as well as players.
Okay, so let's take the blame word out of it, and let's go, where's our room for improvement? Yeah. And I think the coaches have room for improvement.
Look at Mr. Positivity.
I think that the players
who is this
definitely have room for improvement. The amount of improvement that is possible for some of these players
very high ceiling
is insane.
It's a very high ceiling.
There's a lot of improvement available,
but they've got to get to it because the schedule really just they're about to get punched in the mouth.
If they go into Maryland and play like that, we may have to skip a post-game show.
Nope, that ain't happening. That's not happening.
That would be. It would be an aggressive loss.
I'm grateful for everybody joining us tonight. You're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary. We're coming to you from Buffalo's here tonight in Bloomington.
Buffalo's, it was supposed to be closed a little while ago until everybody came walking in.
And it's packed. It is a packed house in here right now. So James, for so much for closing at 9. Your joint's packed right now.
They started cleaning this place about an hour ago.
We got here, there was nobody here, and now it's packed. So you're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks a lot for having us here tonight. We appreciate it very much so. And of course, Best Beer Bloomington bring it to you every week. We're back at Yogi's for our next broadcast, which will be the Maryland game. Next Saturday. So, but in between, we got a lot going on in between. We're back on the air.
2 days after some football game.
Yeah, we're back on the air Monday, of course, with our regular daily show, Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Of course, coming to you live at 9 a.m.
And I'll promise you, by Monday, I will have watched this game film, and I will have plenty to talk about.
We'll have it down.
I'll have plenty to talk about.
Joining us this Monday, Don Fisher, normally with us each and every Monday, not going to be with us this week because of they're off this week, basically. They're off in Jacksonville, which I'll be heading to Jacksonville middle of the week. Katie George is going to join us Monday. Katie George, if you're from Southern Indiana, you know that name. She played volleyball at Louisville, but she now works for the ACC Network. She'll be on the coverage of the Jacksonville, or the game in Jacksonville, the Taxslayer Gator Bowl. She's a sideline reporter for Fox, whoever's covering this game. I guess it's ESPN. I don't know. ESPN owns the ACC Network, so yeah. She used to work for the Milwaukee Bucks. Last year, she was a sideline reporter and has been doing this and was with Fox 41 in Louisville. Prior to that, our good friend Aaron Matus, who joins us quite a bit, she used to work with him. So, but looking forward to having Katie on with us on Monday. So you can look forward to it. She's also a former Miss Kentucky. Was in Miss America. So
she's from Kentucky?
Yes. She played at Louisville. Played volleyball at Louisville.
Hope she's pretty. We're guessing low IQ.
I did not. You can't say that. She's a guest on our show on Monday.
Bad.
You cannot say
from
that.
From Kentucky. I'll make fun of her.
You cannot say that. But we appreciate everybody joining us, man. We cannot thank you guys enough. I know I probably have some more comments or questions there that came up late.
Oh, yeah. Got a lot.
Have you met? Yeah, Nick says, have you met college kids today? It's not the old days.
That is, believe me, let me tell you something. I sat down with a college coach who every single person on our show tonight and any night would know his name. He is a very, very well-known college coach. I'm not going to say his name. And I sat down with him at an AAU tournament this last summer. And I said, why can't you do something like this? And he is from my day. And he just simply looked at me and said, with today's players, you cannot, it's different. Things are different, and you can't go at them the way they used to go at us. And it's just not, you can't recruit them, you can't get them to play for you, they will shut down. And I can't understand that, so I don't even know how to address that.
Jay wants to know, or says, some players need to start for their confidence. He thinks Rob is one of those players.
I agree with you, Jay. I totally agree with that.
Then, if that's the case, why would the coach not recognize that?
I don't know, and maybe they will. Maybe they disagree with us. I don't know, but I agree with that part of it. I would. There is no way. I mean, okay, who's the best shooter on this team?
Officially, it's got to be Devontae Green.
Okay, who's the best big man on this team?
Trace Jackson Davis.
Okay, who's the best guard on this team? The best guard, like not shooter.
That should be Al Durham. Or Rob Finney.
How's he not starting?
I asked this question a long time ago.
I know you do.
When Devontae Green wasn't starting.
I know you do.
So
I understand. I get it.
I don't understand why. It looks like he's trying to put two starting teams out there. He's trying to start a unit and then bring those guys out and this other starting unit. So it's not really
if
working.
It were me, which they don't care what my opinion is, but if it were me, I would start Trace Jackson Davis, Devontae Green, Justin Smith, Al Durham, and Rob Finney. You've got some size. You got great athletic ability. You got good defenders. The only thing you don't have is you don't have two big guys. How many teams today play with two big guys? Not very many. I can't hardly name another one.
Tim Mensa says last year, 24% three-point shooting versus 39 for Arkansas. Last year, the Big Ten packed it in on Juwan and double-teamed Romeo. Aren't we going to see the same thing this year again?
I mean,
you've got a lot more talented guys in the front court this year. You don't just have a one-trick
It's so hard to compare what they did last year versus what they do this year and how teams do that. When you look at like a Michigan State or a Purdue, they have a definite identity in how they play defense. That's what they do every year. Pretty much not. They don't even really care what your defense is like. They'll scheme a thing, something here or there, or change a switch, or all of a sudden you'll see a weird guy guarding another player that you didn't see that matchup coming. But But, I mean, those teams have identities. Purdue has an identity defensively. You know what they're going to do. Michigan State, identity defensively. You know what they're going to do. So, I mean, yeah, I think all those same teams are not going to change their identity because of Trace Jackson Davis.
And don't want to ignore Jerry there, but I think that's a question we've kind of really just talked about that at nauseum about why did they fail to get the ball into the paint in the second half. We don't know.
Yeah.
He says that there are times that Trace Jackson looked frustrated when he had a great position in Brunk and established. I don't know what's going on in the heads if it's not. I would think that it would be a plan. Here's what we're looking to do. And it didn't seem like they were looking to do that anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, so in that same conversation in the AAU tournament that I was at, here's what I was explained. So here's what would be told at a timeout in a Bob Knight huddle: is the ball needs to go down to one side of the floor, it needs to get reversed to the other side of the floor, and it needs to be thrown in the post. Okay. Now, that's all of our jobs to figure out who needs to be where to get all of that to happen in the right way, so that when it goes in the post, it goes to the right person. And that right person is not always Trace Jackson Davis. I can't tell you how many times do you remember seeing us feed Damon Bailey in the post. I mean, Damon was one of the best post players as a guard that's ever played in college basketball. And so our goal or our instruction was to get the ball reversed. That's the key. The key is to have the ball on one side of the floor, have it sent to the other side of the floor, whether that's through one pass or two passes, and then throw it into the post. It's much easier to feed it that way. And the guy has better positioning. The defense is out of position to guard that guy. So many good things happen to it. Instead, what we do is you have to tell a guy, okay, this is where everybody lines up, and we run this weave or we run this ball screen, and this guy's the one who's going to come out and screen for you. And when they come out and set that ball screen, everybody else goes here, here, and here, and that's where you've got to be. And I can't relate to that. I don't understand that.
Bear once says Green and Smith both are going to play for their numbers, not team players.
We want them to play. We want Devontae Green to be a scorer. Why would you not want him to play for his numbers? I want him to score.
I think, and I think some people have a hard time understanding that some of his play is going to look outlandish because that's part of his game.
When he makes those shots, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's awesome. He took 2 shots tonight that were terrible, and
I think just people see a little more of one than the other.
Hey, he shot 16 times tonight. He shot 12 threes. And I will tell you right now, I don't think that's out of whack.
How many did he hit?
He hit 5 overall and 4 for 12 from the three-point line.
I mean, it's 45%, right? 5 of 12, that's...
No, 5 of 15 would be 33%.
So 5 of 12 is like 45%.
No, he was 5 of 16.
Oh.
He was 33%. He was 25%. Gotcha. No, he was 33% from 3.
Gotcha.
Like 31%.
Which is the national average, sadly enough.
So he didn't shoot the ball that well. But here's what I will say. 16 shots out of Devontae, I don't think he's being selfish. I think Indiana needs him to shoot 16 times.
Richard
he took
says,
12 of their 21 threes. I want him to take 12 of the 21 threes.
Richard asked a question. Sorry to have to ask. Is Coach Archie in touch with Coach Kiefer at #1 ranked Lawrence North? I'm sure.
He's in touch with every
high school coach in the state, yeah. Kurt Knight joining us late. Hey, Kurt. Tom Kilrain. So you guys joined us so late, but you'll have to go back and start and rewatch this thing because we've actually gone over longer than we had planned on being here. We thought Buffalo's would be closed by now, but
they thought they were going to
the house is packed. So
James,
they
didn't plan that very well.
The general manager James,
after the game with Todd Leary, the house becomes packed.
James, you're not going to be closed for another hour, I'd say.
Oh my God.
And Ed, but I hope you're happy with that. I'm sure that they are. But we appreciate everybody joining us here on After the Game with Todd Leary. Cannot thank you enough. Of course, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington. Have yourself a nice ice-cold Budweiser, a Bud Light, wherever you visit in any business here in Bloomington. And thanks a lot to Buffalo's for having us here tonight. Thanks again to James and to Ed, the owner. We love being here, and I cannot wait to dig into these wings and this chicken sandwich as soon as we get done here. But we're back again on the air Monday morning live, 9 o'clock. If you're in southern Indiana, various radio stations you can catch us on, of course, or you can find us on any of the Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, any place you find a podcast, we get rebroadcast. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary there. I'm going to be in Jacksonville, Florida, in the middle of the week for Indiana taking on Tennessee in the Tax-Slayer Gator Bowl. And then, of course, we're back after the game next Saturday as Indiana travels to Maryland to take on the Terrapins. So it's going to be a busy, busy week. plenty to talk about all week long. We got everything that happened over the weekend to talk about on Monday with the college football playoffs, some bowl games, some basketball games. Ohio State gets beat today again.
Boy, it was a bad weekend to be a Buckeye, wasn't it?
Man, boy, was it. That's right.
Thank goodness.
Boy, that's
I
right.
feel so bad. I feel so bad for him.
Nobody does. But we appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. We look forward to doing this again. And for Todd Leary, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.